This is Demi World.
Oh my God!
Welcome to Demi World.
Yeah, this is Demi World. I'm Cyndi.
I'm Kelly. And guess what, Cyndi?
What?
It's a whole new world out there.
I know, right? Talk about Demi World.
Talk about Demi World, motherfuckers, since the last time we recorded.
I know. They're thinking about...
Literally everything changed.
What's it called? Where they like shelter indoors or whatever? They're thinking about doing that here, so we won't be able to leave our houses for X number of days. I'm like, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me?
I mean, I actually, I believe that is actually going to be happening.
Yes.
And it would be like, you can still go to the grocery store and stuff. It would, I don't know what it means for like going on walks around the neighborhood.
Well,
like
I think
that.
they'll have a curfew. Like, you can't be out after a certain time at night.
San Francisco has a 24-hour curfew, so that's like how it would be.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, I was scoping my yard yesterday because it's really, because I had a feeling that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And my yard is large, and I'm pretty sure if I ran around it like 6 times or maybe 8 times, it would be a mile. So I'm really planning on, like, I've got this down, you know? Like, I'm like, I can do this.
COVID be damned, motherfucker. I will run around my yard.
I chatted with the people in the main house yesterday for like 2 hours, and she was like, what should we do? She's like, I got some bicycles. I was like, let's make some outfits out of the curtains and then ride our bikes around like it's Sound of fucking Music. Sing some songs. How about that? Let's do that. Because I'm bored. Guys, I haven't worked all week.
Anything to get you into a musical. I know how you are.
Right. Anything to sing through the days. Anything to sing through life.
Oh, man. Yesterday, I was like, I'm grumpy. I'm tired of this. I'm grumpy. I'm like, this is day 2. I'm grumpy.
Yeah, it might be like this till July or August.
I would like to make a shout out to any educators that listen to this podcast. You guys need to get paid more because this shit is hard.
Yeah, it's different. I think it's different being in a different like a school building as an institution. I think it's probably harder at home.
Well, I mean, I'm getting him to do work now that he's getting into a rhythm. I'm like, okay, dude. So if you just get ready in the morning, you can watch TV for an hour and then you got to do work. And he's like, okay, cool. And then he'll do work for like 15 minutes. I'm like, okay, dude. So in another hour, we're going to do more work. And he's like, okay, cool. I like this. And we're like, we're building things. We're making art projects. So it's been a lot of fun, but at the same time, it's like, mama. I'm like, oh my God, dude, can you please not fucking say my name for 5 minutes, please?
And is Matt home too, or is he working at school?
He's working from home. So he's
okay, so you got people
calls.
around. So you are not used to, you now have a full house during the day, and you were getting used to not having that.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, excuse, what is this? Sorry. Yeah, I know. It's hard. It's hard for everyone.
I need to
Can
clean.
You imagine being...
But they're all on the way.
Imagine being quarantined or in social isolation like this with your abuser, and you can never leave the house.
Oh, my God.
You can probably think that if you call the cops, they're not going to be able to come because resources are really scarce right now. All those kids who went to college and were excited to have a fresh start got kicked out of the dorms, and some probably went back home to family situations they didn't want to be in.
Right.
Or maybe they had no home to go back to because college was their way out.
I mean, well, some kids are from out of state, out of country. Where the fuck are they supposed to go?
Yes.
It's a very fucked up situation, and it has been handled poorly. It's a clusterfuck.
It's a clusterfuck. People are working hard. I have been working a little bit, and although I can't tell you what I hear in my work, I've been not captioning a lot with students. I've been doing a lot of government stuff, and people are, but like more like bureaucrat, like on the ground.
Boots on the ground?
Not like high government officials. These are people who are actually really working hard. Mm-hmm. And I just want to tell everyone that they are working really hard. to try to serve every population in this country that needs to be served properly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
While working from home and not being able to work from home because the VPN isn't working and all sorts of, fun stuff that comes with not knowing that there's going to be this whole new world order that was happening.
Yeah, and I mean, up here too, with the closing of the schools and the libraries, museums and everything, it's, everybody's kind of hunkered down, but they're thinking, we were supposed to start school again on April 1st, and now it was pushed to April 28th, and now they're thinking we might have to close it for the rest of the school year.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, when you told me that it was pushed back out, I was like, there's no way that they're going to go back to the school year.
I don't think we can.
I don't think
it's
you
not
can
flattening
because
enough. The curve is still rising. So, I mean,
the curve isn't expected to really flatten out until July or August. So,
right.
I mean, I think, yeah. So, I don't know, they're not going to hold everyone back a year, right? They're just going to, you guys going to go to summer school?
I have no idea. I don't think, well, see, the thing, July or August, school's going to start again, right?
School started August or September, yeah.
September 1st or something, school's supposed to be starting. So what they're trying to do now is do some sort of online curriculum. But when they tried to actually roll it out, there was equity issues. So it was considered unfair to some people. I haven't read any of the articles yet, but there will not be online curriculum.
For who?
Any kids.
Well, that's not true because there's
I mean like public school kids. Public school kids.
Some secondary schools, high schools.
If they have online stuff implemented already.
I gotcha. Because I'm like, well,
because then there's not an equity issue, right?
I see, I understand.
Kids don't have access to computers at home. They might have a smartphone. But you can't,
yeah, I know.
You can't do lessons on a smartphone. I'm sorry. That's just not practical.
Some of the universities I captioned for have been handing out computers because not every college student can afford a computer.
Absolutely not.
They do their
not
work
with
on
tuition.
campus.
Come on, let's be practical here.
So, yeah, I mean, I've been working with one student this week. She's upset. That's all I'm going to say about that. And
yeah, I'm sure.
I had to advocate for her, and that really pissed me off. That's all I'm going to say about that, too. Because I'm about to start crying because that fucking pissed me off.
Well, when you told me that people with disabilities aren't having their needs met, okay, let's rewind to 1980. There weren't curbs for people in wheelchairs to get around New York City. So I'm not fucking surprised that people with disabilities aren't having their needs met. Because basically just getting onto the sidewalk was a challenge for people. Yeah. So I mean,
can you imagine if you are deaf or hard of hearing and you miss what's being said in the world most of the time anyway, and now there's a shortage of not everything is being captioned or interpreted, and they're so terrified they don't even know what's happening.
Yeah, they're not being communicated to. Well, you should, I went to the grocery store and people had cases of toilet paper. I'm still, guys? Still with the toilet paper?
And it's a respiratory illness, right? We're not going to get the flu and have diarrhea forever. You can't eat toilet paper. I don't understand what the toilet paper thing is. I go to the store. I understand that ramen's gone. I get that. I mean, I really hope that someone who pulls in $80,000 or $160,000 a year didn't buy all the ramen. How, maybe you could leave it for WIC or people who really need it. But the toilet paper thing, I'm you guys know it's a respiratory problem, right?
No, I didn't even occur to me that they thought they were going to get the shits. It didn't even occur to me.
That's why I asked my mom. I was like, Mom, why? Why is everyone buying toilet paper? She was she's they think it's the flu. Because they think it's going to be worse than the flu. There's different types of flu.
A stomach bug, yeah, it's usually upper, right? Don't you usually just vomit?
It seems to me that if you wanted to survive in this world, you might want to buy more food than toilet paper.
Well, here's the other thing. Okay, so you're stuck at home. I'm painting a picture. You're stuck at home. You got to take a shit. You go take a shit. You look over, like, oh, I'm out of toilet paper. You look, in all the usual places in the bathroom where the toilet paper would be hidden and it isn't there. You know what you can do?
You can jump in the shower.
Take 2 steps and get in the shower and wash your butt like a human. You're good.
Right. Exactly. Right.
It's just ridiculous.
I even said that in the grocery store. I'm like, I don't get it. You could just jump in the shower if we run out of toilet paper. We all know this, right?
Yeah, you
or
just
are
have
we
to
thinking
strip from
that
the
water's
waist
not
down?
going to be like water's not going to be right anymore? It's just so stupid. You can't eat toilet paper.
Yeah.
Toilet paper is not going to save your life. It's a comfort, yes. Yes, we all love wiping our asses. We all do, but we can certainly live without it.
We've lived without it for centuries.
For centuries. I mean,
For centuries.
Come on, people.
I'm just like, oh man, I just hope I don't run out of toilet paper because eventually I'm going to have to buy some and there may not be any because people are being ridiculous.
Well, there still will be, I heard that Home Depot has a shit ton of toilet paper because no one thinks to go shopping there for toilet paper.
Oh, until this airs.
And our 5 listeners here, you guys are in on it. You're welcome.
Oh, so on a sad note, we lost Jerry as a Patreon.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, I think, well, he's not supporting anybody. And I think partially is because people have to hunker down. Like they don't know what their job security is right now. They can't really give to that sort of stuff.
No,
so
I understand.
I totally
100%.
understand.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just
anything
like such a
that anyone
bummer.
does right now, I'm just like, whatever you got to do. Like, I get it.
Yeah, because the people, like they had to close the last record store in Santa Rosa. There's a county ordinance that if you are not a essential business, you close.
Yeah.
So
I might have to blow my nose here before we start. What was I going to say?
Odin just woke up. 1 sec.
Yep.
Oh, I just have this sinking feeling that we did the same thing.
Oh, we absolutely did not do the same thing, Cyndi.
Oh,
absolutely did not do the same thing. I guarantee it. If we did the same thing, this is going to be our last episode because there's no way. No way. Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
You go ahead and start because I might have a lot of noise on this end for a little while.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah. Okay, so, well, you tell me if you did the one I did.
Okay.
I did the death of Natalie Wood.
Oh, that's such a good one. No, I didn't. I love this story. Love it, love it, love it. Well, in a really morbid, sad way, of course.
I was having so this week's episode is Maritime Unsolved Mysteries.
Yes.
And I just had a hard time finding one that I thought was interesting. And then I decided to do the death of Natalie Wood. So I culled a lot of this information from Biography, Vanity Fair, Town and Country, Baltimore Sun, The Independent, among many other publications. So this case was confusing for me from the beginning of my research. This is a note that I wrote to myself. But by the time I was nearly finished, a monkey wrench by the name of Frank Sinatra was thrown into the story, and I just don't know. I just don't know anything. And I don't even know if this is going to make sense, Cyndi, because I feel like I only have 3 things I'm going to talk about repeatedly. I don't know. You tell me. I'm just going to tell you everything. Okay. Sometime in the night between November 28th and 29th, 1981, actress Natalie Wood drowned off Catalina Island, California. She had been spending the weekend yachting with her husband, actor Robert Wagner, and the co-star of her last movie, Christopher Walken. Walken and Wood were shooting a film called Brainstorm that came out in 1983. They were on Wagner's yacht called Splendor, which was captained by Dennis Davern, and those were the only 4 people on the boat. Mm-hmm. Robert Wagner was a Bobby Sox heartthrob of the 1950s. He also played number 2 in the Austin Power movies, the guy with the eye patch.
Ah, yes.
Yes. Natalie Wood was a child star. She was the girl in Miracle on 34th Street.
Best Christmas movie ever.
Ever. Oh, really? No, I have so many more I like. Mine, I was like, yes, no.
Wait, no, I take it back.
My favorite's White Christmas.
That's a really good one, too. They're like tied.
You know how I love
just
the musicals.
love her, though.
You know how I love the musicals.
I do.
Yeah. So, but Natalie Wood is probably best remembered for her roles in Rebel Without a Cause and West Side Story.
Yes.
And Christopher Walken is Christopher Walken.
Right?
If you don't know who he is, I mean,
Yeah,
you
fucking, where
must
have
have
you
been born
been?
in like 1999.
Right.
So Natalie was found floating in the Pacific Ocean about a mile away from the yacht on the morning of November 29th. And she was wearing a flannel nightgown, a down jacket, and wool socks. The dinghy for the yacht actually was beached close to where her body was found floating, and her husband and the yacht's captain had alerted authorities Natalie was missing around 1:30 in the morning, and then it took about 6 hours to locate her body. I guess the down jacket prevented her from sinking, and it actually looked like she was just standing up in the water, like how they found her. Isn't that
Okay.
That's kind of creepy? Yeah.
That is creepy.
Natalie had a lifelong fear of dark water after a gypsy fortune teller had told her mother that Natalie was going to die in dark water.
Oh, God.
Apparently, she was so afraid of water, she wouldn't even go in her swimming pool at home, and she never learned how to swim.
Oh, that's me, totally. I mean, I know how to swim, but I will not go in swimming pools. I don't like dark water either. I don't like regular water. I have trouble with baths.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, the only thing missing, I don't have a bathtub, and I'm like about to find a boyfriend who has a bathtub. Anyway, that's what I did last time, and that did not end well for me, did it? No. Okay. Moving on. I also
Priorities. What are my priorities? Bathtub, toilet paper. Shower. I don't have to have the toilet paper.
I'm not kidding. When I started dating Tim, I had no washer and dryer and no bathtub. And then I would be at his house and I would like text like our mutual friend in Texas, and I'd be like, I'm doing my laundry in the bathtub. She's like, yep, that's why you got that boyfriend. Okay, anyway. It was not totally untrue at the time. So I guess her fear only extended to water and not necessarily to boats, because her husband had a yacht, and they actually spent a quite amount of time on the boat. Mm-hmm. So her husband wrote in his book Heart to Heart with Robert Wagner, 1986, that he and Christopher Walken were having a heated discussion about politics all night, which bored Natalie, and she went to bed around 10:45. The dinghy boat called Prince Valiant was knocking against the yacht and keeping her awake, so she went to tie it up better, and she fell in and drowned. I guess in her attempt to tie up the dinghy better, she untied it completely first. Side note, it's called Heart to Heart with Robert Wagner because he used to star in the TV show Heart to Heart, which was one of my mother's favorite TV shows, and I've been told my whole life that I was born during an episode of Heart to Heart, and I went online last week and verified that indeed was true, and the TV guide said that, yes, Heart to Heart was on from 10 to 11 p.m. at night, and I was born at 10:11, so I guess my mother was not lying to me.
What, do you think she had it on in the delivery room?
She said she was not watching. She said it was on, but she was too busy. Wagner released another biography in 2008 called Pieces of My Heart and he said Natalie was either trying to tie up the dinghy to keep it from knocking, or she was trying to escape the boat and whatever argument that was going on between himself and Christopher Walken. That's his official stance on it, I guess you could say, that she either did this or she did that and she drowned.
Okay.
She either tied up the dinghy or she left on the dinghy and drowned. Natalie's sister, actress and Bond girl Lana Wood, claims Natalie would do neither thing because of her great fear of water. Her sister also claims Natalie was a movie star and very cognizant of her appearance to the world, and she would never go anywhere in a flannel nightgown with little or no makeup on and her hair not done. Her sister also claims the night before that Natalie didn't want to stay on the boat, and so she had the captain take her to a motel on Catalina. She was wearing a dress, and her hair and face were all done up like a movie star.
Right.
So Lana believes her sister would have repeated the same thing the next night if she wanted to leave the boat instead of jumping into the dinghy in her jammies, where a photographer could take her picture.
Yeah, that sounds like a really bad idea. You know, they're got to be everywhere. They would know the boat was out there. They would know the boat.
I think it's a valid argument her sister has for why she wouldn't leave the boat in that condition. The final night on the boat and the argument that went with it that night are also one of the biggest inconsistencies about that evening, including there are conflicting reports on whether or not people from nearby boats heard arguing on the Splendor, and conflicting reports a woman was screaming for help on the Splendor.
Oh, so sad. Okay.
Marilyn Wayne, a guest on a nearby boat, claims she heard a woman screaming she was drowning just after 11 p.m. She claims she and her boatmate tried to call the harbor patrol to report what they heard and were not able to get through. They then called the sheriff in nearby Avalon, who said they would send a helicopter that never came. Marilyn Wayne claims that she received a note at work a few days later telling her to keep her mouth shut about what she knows.
Oh, okay.
I find this info suspect because it didn't come out until the case was reopened in 2011. So the case was initially closed and then reopened. I think I get to that in my notes. Let's just get there. So Wagner acknowledged to the police in 1981 that the fight he and Walken were having was over, which this contradicts what he wrote in his book, that the fight he and Walken were having was over whether Natalie Wood should focus on her family or her career. The ultimate dilemma for the working mother looking to have it all. But I don't know if I buy it that Wagner and Walken were fighting over Wood's career and she was just like, what? Watching?
Right.
Listening?
I mean,
To her husband and her co-star discuss her life? I doubt it. So there are rumors from people who know Walken that the actual fight was over Wagner accusing Walken and Wood of having an affair.
that sounds more like it.
Although there are disagreements over what the fight was about, it is acknowledged that Wagner and Walken were for sure fighting. Wood was possibly involved in the argument, and Robert Wagner got mad enough to break a bottle of wine by smashing it onto a table, which effectively ended the fight for the evening and then sent everyone to bed. So those three things had happened.
There's a lot of drinking going on, I assume.
And there was a lot of drinking going on. They went out to dinner that night in Catalina. They came back and then they were continuing to drink on the boat.
Now, is it possible that Natalie Wood was really hammered when she tried to get into this dinghy?
That's what Robert Wagner's story is.
Okay.
That she was drunk and fell in. But that's the official story for the next 30 years after Wood's drowning. There's a fight on the boat over something. Natalie went to bed earlier than the men because the men were fighting. And then Robert Wagner broke a wine bottle and everyone went to bed. So in 2011, the captain of the yacht says that Robert Wagner was feeling lonely and felt that Natalie was working on location too much and leaving him and their children home alone. He felt that she should stay home and be more wifey and motherly.
Sounds like he's jealous.
Wood and Wagner share a daughter together, and then Natalie Wood had another daughter from her prior marriage. So her daughters were ages 6 and 11 when she died.
Oh, poor
Okay,
things.
so Natalie Wood and Robert Wagner are fighting. Christopher Walken walks in on the fight and takes Natalie's side that her career is indeed important and that it's okay for her to be on location away from her family for extended periods of time. This then prompts the cheating accusations to fly out of Robert Wagner's mouth. And he then breaks the wine bottle and everyone goes to bed. Of course you defend her because you're fucking my wife, you know?
No, that seems very plausible there.
Yep. So when it was discovered Natalie was missing, Robert Wagner forbade the captain from turning on the searchlights and contacting authorities about Wood for about an hour. This is what the captain told the police in 2011. He said that he heard Robert Wagner tell Natalie to get the fuck off his boat, and then he spent the hour that he made the captain wait to contact authorities drinking scotch instead of being concerned for his wife. Because of this new information from the captain, in 2012, LA County changed Wood's death certificate from accidental drowning to drowning and other undetermined factors. In 2013, their office added an addendum to her autopsy report that some of the bruising on her body may have occurred before she went into the water. Because when they found her, she had sort of been like knocking around on rocks and things. And then they speculated that she was in the dinghy, fell out of it, and was trying to crawl back into it. And that caused a lot of bruising on her body.
Right. And plus her clothes would have been heavy.
Yeah. And
she
she was
probably had
wearing
trouble getting
flannel
back
and
into it.
down, like a down jacket getting wet. Yeah. So in 2018, Robert Wagner was named a person of interest in her death. He has not been interviewed by police in 1981, and he has refused several requests by the police to be interviewed since being named as a person of interest. He's still living. He's 90 years old.
Wow.
Dr. Michael Franco, a family medicine specialist in Los Angeles, says he was interning at the LA County Coroner's Office at the time of her death. He claims to have noted to Chief Medical Examiner Thomas Noguchi that Natalie's injuries were more consistent with someone being pushed off of the dinghy into the water as opposed to pulling from the water into the dinghy.
Oh, okay.
He claims Noguchi replied that some things are best left unsaid, and that, however, the autopsy report was written was all that he needed to know. And then Franco accuses Noguchi and LA County of covering up the homicide, which is a big accusation. Mm-hmm. So Thomas Noguchi is still living at age 93. He is known as coroner. That's a hard word. Coroner. Can you know, like when I have to caption, that's a hard one for me because usually it comes out coroner because I'm like coroner. Okay, sorry. Because that's how I have to do it. Otherwise, it comes out as coroner to the stars.
Yeah, corner.
So Thomas Noguchi has done the autopsies of Robert Kennedy, Sharon Tate, Janis Joplin, Marilyn Monroe, John Belushi, Natalie Wood, and others.
So he's like a corner for the stars.
Yes. Yes. I never finished that sentence. He's a corner to the stars.
He's a corner to the stars.
He was suspended from LA County Coroner's Office in 1982 for 30 days without pay when he was investigated for mismanaged and illegal activities in the coroner's office.
Oh.
Listen to this.
He's a crook. Okay.
This is where it gets confusing, Cindy. I'm just gonna make sure.
Okay, I'm hunkered down. I'm down here with you. Let's do this.
A letter from Frank Sinatra to the office was released to the public regarding the coroner's, quote, attention-seeking headlines, end quote, and sensational reporting on the deaths of Natalie Wood and William Holden. Because it's Hollywood, here's a bunch of gossip. Apparently, Frank Sinatra was enthralled with Natalie Wood ever since he saw her in Miracle on 34th Street when she was 8 years old.
Creepy.
When she was 15, Sinatra propositioned Wood's mother about an evening for the two of them together, and her mother arranged it.
Wait, so how much is he? How much older is he than her?
Oh, like 25 years.
Oh, fuck, that's nasty. Okay, continue.
And her mother, by the way, total stage mother.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Okay. So, and her parents are like poor Russian immigrants. So, you know, she's just going to push her daughter through the Hollywood system because, hey, you know, who wants to be a poor immigrant anymore? So Frank Sinatra threw Natalie Wood her 21st birthday party, even though she was already married to Robert Wagner at that time.
Okay.
So, and Robert Wagner and Natalie Wood actually had two marriages together.
Yes.
First from 1957 to 1962, and then again from 1972 to her death in 81.
Okay.
Robert Wagner also dated Frank Sinatra's daughter, Tina, from 1970 to 1972, and Frank pushed to have Noguchi fired as coroner because he could implicate Robert in Natalie's death, and Frank was protecting Robert. Why Frank wouldn't want Natalie's murder brought to justice, I have no idea. But my thoughts are, from the very little I know about Frank Sinatra, is he was so conservative and such a guy's guy that he would never let someone who dated his daughter be arrested for murder, even if the person murdered was the teenage girl he lusted after for 25 years.
That is bizarre. That's really weird.
Don't think someone willing to go to a girl's mother to arrange for an intimate evening with her teenage daughter would have any qualms about covering up her murder that could cause potential embarrassment for said dude.
Wow.
The official story is Natalie Wood and Robert Wagner's first marriage fell apart after Natalie Wood cheated on Wagner. But the gossip is that Wagner was bisexual and Wood caught him in bed with another man and they divorced. But because of how Hollywood treats gay actors, she agreed to take the blame for their divorce on an affair she said that she had.
Who was the affair supposed to take place with? Just nobody was ever named in it?
No, it was. It was, yes. It was someone, like, really famous, too. But I forget. And there are actually further rumors, and I'm sure that these are just rumors, that Natalie Wood walked in on Robert Wagner and Christopher Walken having sex on the yacht that night, and they killed her because of it.
I don't know that I believe that, but
I think that's a little far stretch.
That's a little far, but I wouldn't put it past what's his name? Christopher Walken to swing both ways. That seems normal to me.
I just don't see him as a murderer.
No, he's weird, but I don't think he's a
Although
murderer.
I think he might know more than he's been saying though about.
Oh, I'm sure either that or he was so blackout drunk he really doesn't remember much at all.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, people do, who knows, really.
Yeah. So we probably won't ever know what happened to Natalie Wood the night she died. I do find it suspect that most of the sensational details about the case didn't come out until 30 years later when books were about to be published and promoted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right?
And I don't know what happened. Maybe it was an accident, maybe not. But I have no idea either way, but once Frank Sinatra got involved in the story, I was just like, I don't even understand how this even works.
Yeah, to have himself, insert himself into the situation is just bizarre.
Yeah, because
he thinks himself so important that he can go ahead and quiet all this up, with little, hand gesture.
But
this is not the man you were looking for. That's crazy.
But it worked because he released his letter to the press or whatever, or because it was released to the press. Mm-hmm. That's what pushed to get the coroner suspended without pay or whatever.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Natalie Wood.
Poor Natalie Wood.
Yeah, I can't. It's like dying of your worst fear.
Yeah, right.
It's awful. It sounds so terrifying.
Yeah.
Regardless of what it is, falling from a high, elevation or whatever if you're afraid of heights, being attacked by a dog if you're terrified of dogs. It's just like your own personal hell.
Yeah.
Drowning in dark water when you're terrified of drowning in dark water.
Yeah.
Ugh. Very well done.
No, thanks.
Very strange story.
Yeah, I know.
Very weird story.
Hi, I'm Linda.
And I'm Jane.
And we have a brand new podcast called Bedknobs and Broomflicks, where we talk about witches of the entertainment world. From the horror movies Warlock, Suspiria, The Witch, and The Blair Witch Project,
to the more comedic or whimsical, such as Harry Potter, Hocus Pocus, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, and The Blair Witch Project.
No movie, TV show, or book is off limits.
All witches, man witches, sorry warlocks, we're not calling you that, witches brews, witches of history, familiars, and witch-like activity will be discussed as we laugh and have fun talking about the wonderful world of witches.
So join us every other week for some fun witchy talk.
All witches welcome.
Okay, so mine. Okay, I went with your advice and did Malaysia Airlines Flight 370.
Oh, yeah, I'd never do that one because I told you to do it. I thought about doing Amelia Earhart.
To do it?
I thought about doing Amelia Earhart, but I thought that you might decide to do that one, so I didn't.
No, I think they might have found her plane, so...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That could all be rumor, but it was about maybe 10 years ago, I think they found her plane.
Well,
they crashed on an island or in a reef.
Okay.
And the reef or whatever grew over the airplane, so you can kind of see the outline of it, sort of.
Oh, I see.
It could all just be bullshit, though. I don't know. But I thought maybe that mystery had been solved.
Well, the mystery you're about to tell me has not been solved.
No.
And I actually don't know much about it. I just remember seeing it on the news when it initially happened, and that's it.
Well, it is a really weird story, and I honestly didn't know much about it either. So here we go. I got my information from Real Life Lore on YouTube. They do a lot of aviation, transportation mysteries, which you'd be surprised there's quite a few of them. BBC News, Encyclopedia Britannica, and The Atlantic. And also I kind of skimmed through the official report that was released by the Malaysian government. It's like 300 pages. I did not read the whole thing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so in case people don't know, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, also known as MH370, was a scheduled flight on March 18th, 2014 from Kuala Lumpur International Airport at 2:35 a.m. to Beijing Capital International Airport at 6:30 a.m. We now know that it never arrived at its destination. 6 years later, we still don't know what happened to MH370 or the circumstances behind its disappearance, and it remains one of aviation history's greatest mysteries.
That's crazy.
It's really, and where it goes and how it gets there is fucking weird. Okay. So MH370 was a Boeing 777 and was operated by Malaysia Airlines.
That's a big plane, right? It's like one of the it has like an upstairs. Is that one of those?
You know, I don't know.
I'm going to look it up.
I'll have to find a picture of one. I'm not sure, but it had over 200 people on board.
Oh, it's not one of those big ones that has an upstairs.
Okay.
All
right. The route taken by MH370 was one of 2 daily flights from Lumpur to Beijing. So it's a regular thing. Happens twice a day. No big deal, right?
Right.
The flight was scheduled it was like 5-hour, 34-minute flight. And 370 was carrying enough fuel to remain airborne for 7 hours and 41 minutes, just in case there had to be a detour for some reason. Okay. You know, an emergency of some sort happened. They could detour and have enough fuel to stay airborne for 7 hours if necessary. Okay. So.
But the flight you said was like 5.5 hours?
Yeah, 5 hours and 34 minutes was flight time.
All right.
If they left on time, and had like all their like the tailwinds and everything were in their favor. 5 hours and 34 minutes, and they had enough fuel for 7 hours and 41 minutes of being airborne. Okay. So the plane in question was 11 years old and had never experienced any operational issues at all. The crew was of 12 people, 2 of which were the pilots. The captain was 53-year-old Zahir Ahmad Shah, who joined Malaysia Air in 1981 and had 18,000 hours of flight experience. So he's been there quite a while. They know him very well. Never had any issues with him. Okay. Shah's co-pilot was 27-year-old Farik Abdul Hamid, who had joined the airline in 2007 and had 2,700 hours of flight time. So he also has been there for a pretty good stretch of time. So in addition to the crew of 12, there are 227 passengers from 8 different countries aboard. So the flight departs at 12:42 a.m., which is a little later than scheduled, and it is cleared by air traffic control to go ahead and climb to 18,000 feet. Voice analysis has confirmed that the first officer, Hamid, communicated with air traffic control before the flight took off, and that Captain Shah communicated with them shortly after takeoff. Okay. So we've got communication. Everything seems good. The flight continues on its designated path until 1:06 a.m. when it sends its last automated positioning report and its final communication.
I'm sorry, what time was that?
1:06.
Okay. So
it's been airborne, let's see, for
like
about...
Not quite an hour?
No, maybe like 20 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. So at 1:19, just a few minutes later, the last verbal transmission with the flight crew takes place. So at this time, Kuala Lumpur contacts the cockpit telling the crew to transfer over to Beijing airspace. And they say, Malaysia 370, contact Ho Chi Minh at 120.9. Good night. The communication was answered by Captain Shaw when he said, good night, Malaysia 370.
Okay.
That's it.
And what time was that? Like 1:02-ish? Or like
1:19.
1:19.
1:19.
Okay. So like 40 minutes in the air maybe.
Yeah, around that, roughly, about 40 minutes. So at this time, the plane was just over the Gulf of Thailand. So it had gone over the Malay Peninsula. I'm going to say a bunch of different places. They're all in like
Asia?
Southeast Asia area. Yeah.
So they're going to have difficult names, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to give you directions. So from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, you would fly in a northeasterly direction.
Okay.
Straight northeasterly. You don't really have to do anything other than that. So at this point, the plane was over the Gulf of Thailand, which is in between the two places, and it's on its scheduled flight path. Then 3 minutes after the final verbal contact, so 1:21 a.m., M370 disappears from both radars of Kuala Lumpur and Ho Chi Minh.
Oh, radar too.
Yeah, just gone. This means that the transponder on the flight is no longer working.
Where do they keep the transponder? In the cockpit?
In the cockpit.
Okay.
Since there was hardly any clouds or storms in the vicinity, it is unlikely that the transponder just stopped working, but it had been manually turned off by somebody in the plane.
Right.
However, military radar, which is a little bit stronger, can still track the flight. And here's where it gets cray-cray. All right. The transponder gets turned off, and the plane all of a sudden veers to the right and then makes a sudden left turn and starts heading in the absolute opposite direction of where it's just been headed.
Like
It's now
southwest?
Southwest, yes.
Really?
And yes, so it's going back the way it came, back over the Malay Peninsula.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it's fluctuating. A couple thousand feet in altitude. Up and down.
Jesus. Okay.
Okay, so at 1:52 a.m., the flight was detected just south of Penang Island, where it took another sharp turn and started flying over the Strait of Malacca in a northwesterly direction. So now it's heading straight, kind of like it was heading southeast.
Southwest. And
Southwest,
now it's heading
and then
northwest.
now it's heading northwest, and it's kind of cutting in between a bunch of island chains. So there's
Okay.
islands on both sides of it, but it's kind of sort of in the middle of them for the most part.
Weird.
Yeah, very weird. So the last known location of MH370 was over the Andaman Sea at 2:22 a.m., which was the limits of the Malaysian military radar. So now the military radar loses it.
Okay, so
However-
that meant it either went too low or too high?
Too far away.
Too far away. Okay.
It's just too far away now. It's that the military radar cannot reach farther than the distance it has flown from it. So
see.
it's now out of range. So now the flight continues, but however, the flight is continuing to give hourly satellite communications to a satellite run by a company called Inmarsat.
Okay.
So every hour it just pings, gives a little ping up to the satellite. It's like, okay, here it is. Like, here it is this hour, this hour, this hour. So it's still being tracked.
And where is it at this point? I just pulled
Okay.
up a map. So,
Okay, so
is it
based
like,
on
Go ahead.
based on the analysis of the compiled data, the flight took another inexplicable turn and began heading straight south, where it continued for 5 hours.
So where are we now, though? Like, what is it?
So we are
what
in the
sea?
Indian Ocean.
Oh,
Ocean.
in the Indian Ocean.
Yeah, we're in the Indian Ocean, and we're heading south toward Australia.
Okay, Australia. That's what I thought.
Yeah, so Australia will be over off to the east of it, about 2,000 kilometers.
Okay.
About 4,000 kilometers, about 2,000 miles
They are
off the coast.
So they've just been they're mostly just been over the water like the whole time.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Not flying over any land masses really, except just the Malay Peninsula and then close to one of the islands.
And how long
there.
are the pings going on for? For how many hours?
About 5 hours,
So the
because
last-
they flew straight south for 5 hours until they ran out of fuel. Okay. So the whole time this flight is making these hourly pings called handshakes
Okay.
with the satellite by Inmarsat satellite. The
Yeah.
communication is what is called a whisper communication, which means that everything inside the plane has been turned off. There's no in-flight entertainment.
Okay.
There's no lights.
No lights?
There's nothing. There's just the cockpit, like anything essential cockpit, the engines are going. Everything else is off.
Oh my God.
Right. Okay. So, and
And they have all that control over the cockpit.
Yeah.
So like a flight attendant couldn't pick up a phone and like somehow override some emergency.
No.
Okay.
No.
Maybe can they now? Maybe.
I don't think so. I think the pilots still have control.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. So this means that they were shut off. No in-flight entertainment. No cockpit. I had troubles when I was practicing this too. Cockpit texts and automated
what?
maintenance report. Cockpit.
Cockpit
text?
what?
Text.
Oh, text.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess they can communicate with other planes and air traffic control. So that's all turned off. And no automated maintenance reports are being sent out. So everything's been turned off. So
it's probably too stupid to ask that no one's cell phone would work on the plane.
They tried a couple different types of cell phones, but at that altitude, they're flying at anywhere from 30 to 33,000 feet.
Oh, they were really high.
They were really high. They were normal cruising altitude. 35,000 feet is normal cruising altitude. So they were at altitude. So oh
my God, what the fuck was going through those passengers' head for 5 hours? There's no lights or no communication. I bet from the cockpit.
So hang on, there's some crazy theories. Let me get through their whole thing. So it's only 2:39 a.m. right now, right?
Oh, right. Yeah, right. Okay.
So at 2:39 a.m., a call is made to the cockpit that goes unanswered.
Mm-hmm.
4 hours later at 7:13 a.m., another call is made. Again, it's unanswered. So by 7:24 a.m., the flight was still airborne and was 1 hour late for its scheduled arrival in Beijing. At this time, the Malaysian government announced that it had lost contact with the flight and that search and rescue operations had been mobilized. Yet unknown to the Malaysian government, MH370 was still flying. Everybody thought it had crashed.
Okay.
Somewhere.
Still flying.
Still flying, and it's in a completely wrong place. It's not supposed to be where it is. So the last satellite communication took place at 8:19 a.m., and it was a log-on request sent from the flight to Inmarsat. So this is all automated. It would have happened for a couple of reasons, this log-on thing. Either a software or a power failure. So at this point, the plane was flying for about 7 hours and 38 minutes, which is right at the end of its fuel supply.
Yeah.
So something's going wrong in the plane. It sends like this login request. For whatever reason, I really don't know much about aviation and why this would have happened. But it's probably because it's running out of fuel and things are starting to like turn off completely.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So Inmarsat sent another position request to the flight at 9:15 a.m., but it went unanswered. So the plane has crashed at this point.
Okay.
So based on this information, it's believed that flight MH370 crashed in the Indian Ocean sometime between 8:19 and 9:15 a.m., several thousand kilometers off the coast of Australia. But we don't know exactly where it is.
Yeah, it's never been located.
No.
Not
so
not even a piece.
No, well, no, there's been pieces.
There have been. Okay.
Yes. So the search for the plane and the 239 people on board happened immediately. Initially, the search focused on the South China Sea, which made sense because that's where it was supposed to be going, right? However, the Malaysian government, which also happens to be incredibly corrupt, didn't know this, didn't tell anyone that the flight had actually changed its path.
Okay.
So they knew because they had military satellite, right? Tracking it.
Yeah.
So they knew that it wasn't where it was, where they were looking for it, but didn't say anything because they didn't want the bad press. However, the Wall Street Journal actually prints their data on where the plane had been, and then the Malaysian government's like, oh yeah, right, it actually crashed in the Indian Ocean.
Okay.
So then they start searching there. So if the search had shifted right away, they probably could have located the crash site and been able to retrieve the transponder, the black box on board, and figured out what had happened, because there would have been debris.
Really?
Yes.
Do you think that they were sent to a different place on purpose?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No.
I didn't know if the Malaysian government tried to crash a plane for some reason and then wanted to cover it up.
No, because there's really no why would they have crashed the plane?
Because there was some political person on there that they didn't want anymore.
That's possible. Well, there was something weird about it, but I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
So, between March 18th and April 28th, 19 ships and 35 sorties, which were like little military aircrafts and boats, searched over 4.6 million square kilometers. Is that how you would say that? 4.6 million square? 4.6 square million? How do you say that?
4.6 million square kilometers.
Okay, it sounds weird. It sounds like it's just a lot of description in one sentence. But they found nothing. So a sonar search was done of the seafloor in the area, and it was about 1,800 miles west of Perth, Australia. And on April 6th, an Australian ship detected several acoustic pings that may have been the flight recorder.
Oh, okay. Oh, like it was still on.
Yeah, it was still on, but the battery was getting low, and they couldn't find it. They sent a submarine down there, looked all over the place, but couldn't find anything, and then the ping stopped, so they couldn't locate it. The battery probably died in it. So there were no clues as to what happened to the flight until about a year later. So in July of 2015, a piece of wreckage washed up on the shore of Réunion, which is an island off the coast of Madagascar, which is off the coast of Africa.
I don't know about currents and tides, so whatever. I don't. Yeah, never mind. I would have thought I would have ended up in Australia, but I guess it ends up in Africa.
Yeah. So about 400 kilometers west of Australia, off Perth, in the Indian Ocean, this piece of plane washes up on Réunion Island.
Off Madagascar.
Off the coast of Madagascar. It's a very tiny island too. Madagascar is much larger, so it's interesting that it even washed up at all because it's such a tiny island.
Yeah.
That it just would have floated right past. So the piece is called a wing flaperon, and it was confirmed to come from MH370. And what it is, the flaperon is about 6 feet long, and its positioning showed that the landing flaps of the plane were not extended when it crashed, which means that the plane was in a full vertical nosedive when it crashed into the ocean.
That is my fear.
Isn't that terrifying?
That's why I don't fly.
It's terrifying. My hands are cold right now thinking about it.
Oh, my God. Say it to me again. I'm not kidding. Say it to me again.
So the flaperon showed that the plane's landing flaps were not extended when the plane crashed, which means that the plane was in a full vertical nosedive when it hit the ocean.
Do they know from like 35,000 feet?
Yes.
Do you know how long it would take to descend 35,000 feet like that?
I don't, but you'd be at maximum velocity, I would think. You would be at your fastest speed. You wouldn't get any faster.
I can't even imagine.
So this means that when the
I'd
plane,
hope everyone passed out inside.
Oh, they would have been. There was no way they couldn't be. So they couldn't be conscious. Okay. So when the plane hit the ocean, it just disintegrated.
Yeah. Jesus.
The impact is like hitting a brick wall.
Right. Totally.
Water at that. Yeah. So as time went on, more pieces of wreckage were later discovered scattered across the coast of Africa, of course, the east coast of Africa. And a traveler named Blaine Gibson made it his mission to discover what happened to MH370 and found all of these extra pieces of wreckage because people had stopped looking.
Okay.
So he heard about the missing plane while he was in Southern California, and he had already made this, he'd made this decision to visit every country in the world. And he's like, well, I've planned to go to Africa and Asia, so while I'm there, I might as well look to see if I can find these plane parts. And we have hundreds of pieces of plane now because of him.
Okay.
And they've all been tied to MH370 because of this guy, because nobody was looking for them anymore. They're like, oh, we know that it crashed and we know it was in a vertical nosedive, but that's all we know because we just have this flaperon.
Yeah.
So let me see. By January 17th, 2017, almost 3 years after the plane vanished, the official search was suspended. The governments of Australia, Malaysia, and China contributed to the search operations, and it has become the most expensive searches in aviation history, costing $155 million to look for one plane.
Yeah. It's not, there is no plane anymore. My God.
No, there is no plane. Yeah. There is no plane. So in January of 2018, a private U.S. company called Ocean Infinity contributed to the search pro bono, although they would have been awarded $70 million had they found the plane. They searched for 3 months and covered 33,000 square kilometers and found no signs of MH370. They looked around the area where they thought they had crashed in the Indian Ocean and found nothing. So here we go. So we're pretty sure that we know the flight's path due to the Inmarsat satellite pings. So the first theory was that it was a possible hijacking by 2 Iranian passengers on board who were flying with stolen passports and who had purchased one-way tickets and entered Malaysia 1 week before the flight. But they were asylum seekers, they were refugees, and had nothing to do with the plane's disappearance.
Okay.
No terrorist or governmental groups ever claimed responsibility for the missing flight, so it's unlikely that it was hijacked. But there are some people who think it might have been a crew hijacking.
Okay.
So there remains a lot of suspicion around
Because
Captain
I was going
Shaw.
to say, like, I've been wondering this whole time, what the fuck is the crew doing? I know they locked the cockpit door, but if there's 12 additional crew in addition to the pilot and co-pilot?
Right.
Right? I mean, someone can't figure out how to break down the door?
Right. I mean, what's going on? Exactly. It's like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
There remains a lot of suspicion around Captain Shaw, but there's been no conclusive evidence of him being found, like, linked to anything with the flight's disappearance. But
so you
there
think
are
the
a lot
captain
of people...
and, like, the whole crew would be in on it?
Yeah, that's what some people kind of think. But the Malaysian
Why?
government... That's a good question. Why? There's no motive.
Yeah.
There's zero motive. So the Malaysian government conducted 170 interviews with crews, family, and friends and found nothing linking them to anything nefarious. Everybody seemed really happy. They had no reason to suspect anything weird was happening. Although there were some reports that Shaw's wife had recently left him and that he had been found pacing a lot in empty rooms and staring into space.
Is this the older or the younger?
Yeah, the older.
The older pilot. Okay.
Yeah, the one with lots of experience.
I guess if anyone would know how to do it, it would be him.
Right. Yeah, but still, like, just take yourself out. Why are you...
Because he fucking cracked, man. He just cracked.
Yeah. So, if the crew and pilots caused the incident, their motivations remain a mystery.
Yeah, because they would need to have the crew is not going to take down a plane because the pilot's heart is broken.
Right. No, of course not.
They would have to have a completely different motivation. Yeah, and at a common motivation, it just doesn't make any sense.
No. So the Australian Transportation Authority rejects that Shaw crashed the plane deliberately because they believe that he would have been unconscious in the flight's final movements because it crashed, the way it crashed. It just went down without any kind of, like, trying to stop it.
You don't think it was a controlled nosedive? You think...
It was an uncontrolled nosedive.
It was an uncontrolled nosedive.
It was an uncontrolled nosedive.
Oh, in my head, I had pictured it as a controlled nosedive. I understand.
No, the plane flew.
They ran out of fuel.
They ran out of fuel and just did uncontrolled nosedive into the ocean.
Just went faster and faster, accelerated.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you said, maximum velocity until, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So in a nosedive, though, in a situation like that, because if I'm ever on a plane that runs out of fuel, like, it's not going to just glide down.
It will if you take measures to pull back the wing flaps and slow it down with air resistance.
Okay,
there are ways you can crash land a plane.
They didn't do any of that.
No, none of that happened. You can you can crash land a plane by trying to control those things. Even if there's no power, it's really hard to do. That's why there's a co-pilot.
Either the pilots were in on it together, or one took out the other.
Okay, so here are some other theories. So, when the flight took that sudden turn,
yes.
American intelligence believed that someone in the cockpit manually reprogrammed the aircraft's autopilot to take the turn and to fly south for 5 hours until it ran out of fuel, which also makes no fucking sense, because why would you do that? But that's what the Americans think. So the transponder had to be...
just a radical, just a crazy suicide.
Possibly. So,
that you want to terrify people for 5 hours before it happens.
Right. So other theories range from the plane getting sucked into a black hole to alien abductions.
Okay, of course.
So others speculate that the plane was hijacked remotely by cyber terrorists, but Boeing's like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah,
That's fucking
and
ridiculous.
it wouldn't be the only one, please. They'd be
Right,
doing
right.
this shit all the time.
Right. So now there's the fire hypoxia theory.
Okay.
So there is a theory that a fire started on board the plane. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, they turned off all of the electrical stuff to kind of put out the fire.
Okay.
Because we know it wasn't an engine failure because the plane flew for 5 hours.
Right.
So it had to have been some sort of electrical fire.
Okay.
And this might have caused a decompression incident in the cabin, which means that we talked about this with Everest.
At the Everest, everyone's drunk
They're all dying.
because they have no brain
They're
cells.
all dying. Everybody's dying.
They're like in the death zone.
They're in the dead zone.
Yes. Okay.
They're at 33,000 feet.
And Everest is 28,000 feet. They're like
Yes,
way
they're
above the death zone.
dying. They're all dying.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
oh my God.
that could explain why the weird shit got programmed in to the autopilot.
Because their brains don't work.
Their brains aren't working anymore.
Yes. Okay.
And it was thought that they turned around to make a emergency landing.
I see.
But by that point, maybe they just couldn't. Like, maybe the oxygen didn't work. Like, something must have malfunctioned on the plane, right? If that's the case. If it wasn't a mass murder-suicide situation.
I see. Wow.
Right.
That's an interesting theory.
Yeah, yeah.
That might explain some of the things. That might explain some things. Like the no
I
motive.
think it does.
You know?
That's my own little personal theory that nobody's talked about, that the whole crew was unconscious. Like,
Totally. Like
by
the whole
time
plane
they crashed,
was. Yeah.
by the time they crashed, Kelly, everybody on board was dead.
Yeah, I mean, maybe for hours already
For
at
hours.
that point. Yeah.
It was a
they were
giant coffin.
flying around on autopilot.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's so creepy.
So creepy. My hands are cold again. So creepy. So there was also one other strange thing about this. So after the flight took off, a 200-pound piece of cargo was added to the manifest at the airline.
What?
The plane was carrying too much weight and was possibly unbalanced. So we don't know what this cargo was. We don't know why it wasn't on the actual manifest for the plane. We don't know why it was packed on there. Could have been a bomb.
Yeah, okay.
It could have been nothing.
Right. I mean, this could have been whatever started the fire.
Yeah, exactly. It could have caused a decompression event. Blew off a door.
I see.
Whatever, you know.
Okay, right.
So we don't know. We're probably never going to know because we're never going to find that transponder. So the Australian, Malaysian, and Chinese governments have agreed that the official search would resume only if credible evidence emerged on the plane's location, which it probably never will because it disintegrated when it hit the water, when it nosedived into the ocean from 30,000 feet.
Oh my God. Yeah, okay.
So yeah, that's Malaysian Flight 370.
That is so informative. And I think actually what makes most sense is that everyone was unconscious on the plane. Because
Yeah, so
I don't understand how both pilots, either one pilot killed the other pilot to take over the plane and shut everything down, and then no crew. Because I feel like, don't you think the crew could break their way into the cockpit? Or don't you think,
would think
like,
a bunch of passengers would too.
yeah, and you would think too that maybe like the crew has a key to the cockpit. Maybe.
Right.
Maybe.
Right.
Maybe
They
not.
should.
I don't know. Because this is post 9/11. So maybe
Yes,
they don't.
yeah.
But you would think that someone might, in case something happened in the cockpit.
Right. Well, there are some experts believe that Shaw caused the decompression event.
Oh,
and then
deliberately.
crashed-
and
yeah,
knocked
and then
everyone
crashed them into-
unconscious. That would
Yes.
be like a more humane way to do it than to fly everyone around in darkness for 7 hours.
How about this? How about you just land it in
And then-
Beijing and
then blow your brains out?
then blow your brains out?
Because you don't care anymore. You want to hurt
I
other
guess
people.
not. Yeah, I
You
guess
just
so.
want to hurt other people.
Man. So yeah, those are the theories. The hypoxia
Because maybe
theory
he
is
thought-
probably the most.
He knew that this would happen. Maybe he knew, or maybe he thought the plane would never be found. He knew it would be a mystery. Who knows? You know?
Yeah, but it's the way it flew is
Maybe he
very
wanted to
interesting. How it kind of
see-
stayed out of everybody's radar is very interesting. It's like it almost seems deliberate.
Maybe he wanted just to see if he could pull it off. Like he's
Possibly.
been flying for 18,000 hours. He probably spent 18,000 hours figuring out what he was gonna do.
Well, the thing is too, he had a flight simulator at his house, and nothing weird was on it. It was all totally normal.
Well, if he was going to do something like this, I would hope he would be smart enough not to do it on his flight simulator. You know,
Well, I
because
mean, it would be kind of
unless-
like a suicide note, if nothing else. You know what I mean?
That's why I think that it must have all been like the hypoxia thing, because I
Yeah.
think you're right. If the pilot wanted to kill himself, I mean, I feel like there would be other. If you're going to do it in such a grandiose way, you don't want anyone to know that that's what you did.
Well, I kind of wish I forgot to look it up, but there was a German pilot that did that, who crashed a plane deliberately to kill himself and everybody on board.
Yes, I remember that was not that long ago.
Yeah, and so it's not something that has not ever happened before. So, I mean, people do crazy things all the time when they want to take their own
But
lives.
that German pilot, like, but everyone knew that that's what he did. If the
Yeah.
Shaw did it, he did it knowing that no one was probably going to know what he did,
Yeah, which is weird.
which is weird. But maybe he had encephalitis. Maybe he had a brain tumor.
Possibly.
You know?
Possibly. But you usually have like really rigorous standards for medical stuff with pilots. Yeah, you have to pass all kinds of physicals because you can't be having a heart attack up there.
No, I know, but maybe it happened quickly. Like maybe he had a brain
Possibly.
tumor that I don't know. Who knows? That like
Yeah, they can
metastasized
cause
quickly and-
people's behaviors to change quite rapidly.
Well, I mean, they think that
depending on
that's
where
what
they
happened
are.
with Charles Whitman.
Who's Charles Whitman?
He's the one that shot all the people at UT Austin.
Oh,
from
that's
the
right.
clock
Oh, that's
tower.
right. Yeah, he
He-
had those weird nosebleeds and stuff and big like headaches and things.
Yes, and he asked in his diary that they do an autopsy because he felt something was wrong with his brain, and they did an
Right.
autopsy and he had a tumor.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he kept trying to get help. Nobody
Yeah, and
helped
then
him.
he killed his wife and mother and then went to the University of
Right.
Texas at Austin and shot
right.
several people from the clock tower there.
I know all the details. I just don't know anybody's names.
Charles Whitman.
Yes, Charles Whitman.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's possible. But we won't know. We don't have any bodies. We'll never have bodies to autopsy. They're long gone.
I mean, the bodies are gone when they hit the water.
Yeah. And I mean, the animals take care of the rest.
Yeah.
Bacteria, all that takes, especially nice warm water out there in the
Yeah.
Indian Ocean. Lots of bacteria.
Yes.
Lots of critters. So yeah, it's pretty sad. All those people will never know what happened to their family members.
Oh, it's so awful. Yeah. Oh,
And it's 8 different countries too, so it was a big deal.
yeah.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Great job. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
That was a good
Thank
one.
you. And I'll post maps onto the social, and they'll be on the show notes too, because it is kind of confusing because
Okay.
it's not how a plane should fly.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
All right. Well, this has been Demi World. Thanks for listening.
I'm Cindy.
I'm Kelly. Everyone take care of yourselves. Wash your
Yes.
hands.
Wash your hands,
Woo
please.
tang. Woo tang. Woo tang. Right? Isn't that the new thing now that everyone's doing?
I don't know. What is
Oh,
that?
it's a mnemonic device. It's like Wu Tang, like wash hands. I forget what the rest of it is.
Oh, I'll have to look that up. I don't know what that means.
We're gonna do it right now, real quick.
Yes, please do.
Wu Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. Coronavirus. Okay. Follow these tips from the Wu Tang Clan. W. Wash hands. U. Use mask properly. Touch nothing. Avoid large crowds. Never touch your face with unclean hands. And go to the hospital if you have severe symptoms. Wu Tang.
That's super boss.
Protect your neck against the coronavirus. Wu Tang. That's what it says.
Oh, that's good. So Wu-Tang, everybody.
Wu Tang, everyone.
Stop fucking shaking hands.
Wu-Tang. Oh my God. remember that movie with Sandra Bullock and why can't I think of it? Demolition Man. In the future, they never shake hands anymore. They look like they're going to high five and then they wave really quick in front of each other's hands. This is what the world is going to be like. We're all going to be eating from Taco Bell. There's going to be people living in the sewers eating rats run by
We're going to
Dennis
not have
Leary.
toilet paper anymore. We have 3 seashells.
No more toilet paper. We have 3 seashells. Oh my God, Cyndi. Oh my God, that movie foretold the future.
I'm totally going to watch it right now.
Oh my God.
That's my new Bible.
Oh my God, that's such a great movie. But yeah, that's the current state of affairs. Next, our radio is going to be taken over by all old jingles.
Oh my God. Double mint gum.
We won't be able to swear. We'll get fined for swearing.
It was immediate too. You were in the bathroom and it came out of the wall, little receipts everywhere.
That's why when Sylvester Stallone he was like, "Fuck you, you fucking piece of shit," so he could go wipe his ass in the bathroom because he didn't know how to use the 3 seashells.
And nobody would tell him.
No one would tell him. No, and then what's his name laughed at him about it. Oh,
they all laughed at him. He doesn't know about the seashells.
I know, and meanwhile we're all like, how would that work? I actually Googled it once. It makes no sense.
Well, it's not supposed to.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
It's supposed to just leave us all scratching our heads.
That is so funny. We're in the time of the Demolition Man.
I'm totally going to watch that tonight. All right. Thanks for listening.
I'm Kelly.
I'm Cyndi.
Bye. Demi World. Bye.
This has been Demi World. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Demi World Podcast. You can visit our website for show notes at demiworld.net. If you want to reach out, you can email us at demiworldpodcast@gmail.com. You can support us on Patreon at Demiworld Podcast. And remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Thanks for listening. Bye.